Here's your First Warn Weather Forecast First, sponsored by Anderson Collision Center. Visit driveanderson.com.
It's been a bit of a cloudier afternoon across the state line today, but still nonetheless warmed, with our temperatures reaching the 80s for many of us, including 84 right now in Rockford, and still many spots also in the low 80s and upper 70s. Not quite as humid as what we have been as of late, very similar, our dew points to where we were yesterday, but drier air in the lower levels has kept any of the rain from reaching the ground. Now, our satellite radar has shown up a little bit of rain there, but again, drier air keeping that from reaching the surface, actually keeping us dry, other than the increasing cloud cover that we have continued to see. Tomorrow, though, we do have a couple of chances for some thunderstorm activity early on in the day before temperatures warm into the 90s. Our first day of a few days in the 90s, let you know just how long we are going to see those 90s last and how warm we get for some of those afternoons, coming up in your most trusted forecast a little later.
Motorcyclists take to the road to show support for a local family. The benefit in honor of the young victim of a deadly attack. A respectful retirement for American flags. Thousands of flags are properly retired. And a state line city has started the celebrations a few days early. The festivities for Juneteenth.
Live from WTVO 17, this is Eyewitness News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Taylor Castro. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll have those stories in just a minute, but first, police are investigating after shots are fired in Freeport this morning. It happened around 2 a.m. Officers responded to the 1000 block of South Carroll Avenue for reports of gunshots. Authorities say they found evidence that more than one firearm was discharged. No one was injured, but 2 parked vehicles in the area were damaged. This is an ongoing investigation. This morning, local motorcyclists ride to raise money and support the family of Jenna Newcomb. The 15-year-old was the youngest of 4 victims in the deadly attack on a Rockford neighborhood back in March. The community organized a memorial motorcycle run and benefit for Jenna and her family. Kickstands were up at 10, then the riders returned to the Mill Saloon in McChesney Park around 4 this afternoon.
It hits home. I mean, I have kids. I mean, a lot of people have kids, and I mean, that's just a hard tragedy to have, you know, when you have kids, and, you know, hard to deal with, you know. Comes to, I mean, how do you really deal with losing a child?
The ride was followed by food, raffles, and live music. The Illinois General Assembly has passed a measure that would ban unfair real estate listing agreements in the state. It's now up to Governor J.B. Pritzker to sign it. The legislation targets companies offering homeowners cash if they have equity in their homes. In exchange, the homeowner would sign an exclusive listing agreement for 40 years. The agreements have hidden fees and could make it difficult to refinance or sell the properties. The measure would ban listing agreements that last more than a year into the future. A company based in Florida had more than 750 such agreements in Illinois. Americans can now renew their passports online. It's through a new pilot program by the State Department. Applicants will have a short window each day to fill out a renewal application. It will close as soon as the agency reaches a designated number of applicants. This comes as passport processing times are finally back to normal after a massive backlog during the pandemic that left some applicants waiting for months for their passports. The program is expected to fully launch at a later date. A state line pool is closed until further notice because of a significant mechanical issue. Officials will give an update on the pool's status on Wednesday at the earliest. Krueger Pool in Beloit is the one that's closed. If you're looking for other places to cool off in the area, there are splash pads at Vernon Park and Regina Duncan Park. There's also a water feature on Turtle Island at Riverside Park. It's a bad time for the pool to be closing as our hottest stretch of the year is on the way. Let's check back in with Jordan. And Jordan, how hot is it going to get?
Well, Taylor, we are talking about highs into the 90s for more than a few days in a row, and that includes on Monday, possibly our warmest day of the year, more than likely, actually, as a matter of fact, hitting 95 degrees, the forecast high. So we are 91 on Sunday, 95 on Monday, still in the lower 90s and right around that 90-degree mark through the rest of the week. Now, this is much warmer than average, as our average high temperature for this time of year much closer to 81 degrees. Now, with our temperatures going to be in the 90s, we also have to look at where our dew points are going to be as well. Our temperatures low to mid 90s for most of those days ahead, but our dew points could be in the 60s and even near 70 degrees at times. That would then lead to our heat index values possibly near 100 at times, more than likely going to be well into the 90s. This is what our temperature will feel like given the heat and humidity that's going to be in place. Our heat advisory criteria locally is for widespread areas of around 105 degrees Fahrenheit. We are going to be just below that criteria, but nonetheless, it will still be a very, very warm stretch with high temperatures in the 90s and heat index values pushing 100 degrees. So our heat safety checklist, being sure that we're drinking plenty of water, taking frequent breaks in the shade, minimizing our sun exposure, and also wearing light clothing. Just a few of those tips to make sure that we are staying safe in the heat as it is coming, as this is going to be more than likely a fairly prolonged stretch of heat, at least for the foreseeable future, the week ahead, as we are going to be seeing those temperatures in the 90s and overnight lows not too much lower, only down in the 70s.
Thanks, Jordan. Flag Day may have been yesterday, but today a group of veterans and Cub Scouts put on a retirement ceremony for thousands of American flags. Blake Dietz was at Rock Cut State Park for the ceremony to learn more about the reasons for the retirements.
What I do, I put this around it so that way it catches. See how goopy it's getting?
Yep. Veteran Paul Trent served the country for 8 years. Now he serves another way, collecting thousands of worn, tattered, or stained U.S. flags for proper retirement.
It's the proper way, or the respectful way, according to the United States Code. There's other ways to retire it, but burning is the most respectful way. As they say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The material from the flag comes from the plants. It goes back to the ground as where it came from.
Trent, along with friends, family, fellow veterans, and Cub Scouts, will burn over 3,500 flags from Janesville to Elgin during Saturday's ceremony. It's a special event Trent says he performs every year.
It's a way to continue to serve even though my enlistment's over. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years. The gentleman before me did it for 19. And there's only 1 year that he didn't do it, and we've retired over 150,000 flags in 30 years.
Not only are the flags receiving a respectful retirement, young Cub Scouts are receiving a valuable lesson, says Trent.
It teaches them the right way of doing things, the proper and respectful way. They learn what the flag means. The older generation, not so much a new generation, know that retiring a flag this way is the respectful way of doing it. And teaching the younger generation how this goes is important.
One of those scouts is Gabe Tedder.
My favorite part was seeing the huge flag over there because it was so huge.
Trent says if you have a flag in need of retirement, he has plenty of drop boxes to choose from.
They could drop it off at any one of the flag box locations, Blake Awning, the VFW, the American Legion. They all have drop-off locations, and they contact me to pick up when they get full.
Reporting in Loves Park for your home team, I'm Blake Dietz.
All day long, Beloit has gotten a head start on the Juneteenth festivities. Juneteenth Day Beloit 2024 is honoring hip-hop's 50th anniversary at Jones Pavilion, Riverside Park. The musical freedom celebration has a long list of performers from local singers to dance groups. In addition to the entertainment, there's plenty of food and various vendors on site. A special flag is unveiled in Pennsylvania. Coming up, why the design of this flag stands as a symbol for everyone. Yesterday was National Flag Day, and a unique flag was unveiled at the Flight 93 Visitor Center in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Mackenzie Bruns explains the significance of this Braille flag.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The unveiling ceremony, which lasted 30 minutes, drew dozens of veterans, community members, and visitors. The flag stands as a symbol of remembrance and freedom for all visitors, regardless of visual ability.
I didn't want it to be a flag where somebody would have to come to you and tell you this is a red stripe, this is a white stripe, and I wanted it to be made in such a way that even if nobody was around and a blind person encountered it, they'd not only know from the design work that these were stars and stripes, but they'd know the colors of the flag as well.
Randolph Cabral, president of the Kansas Braille Transcription Institute and son of a World War II blind veteran, created the original Braille American flag to honor his father. He also created the design of the flag. It's an addition that could expand to other national parks as well.
To have a Braille flag in every visitor center would be something that I personally would love to see. So I am now on a journey working with my superiors and colleagues across the country to see if it's possible. It may take me a while, but I'll give it my best.
After a warm day with highs in the 80s, the heat is on next week with multiple days in the 90s. Jordan tells us how long the summer heat will last coming up next.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
It's another fairly warm day across the state line today. This time around a couple degrees cooler than where we were yesterday, likely then credited to the cloud cover that we had as opposed to not as much that we had yesterday. Temperatures still made it to 84 in Rockford as well as Rochelle and DeKalb, 86 in Sterling and 82 in Freeport. Upper 70s though off to the northwest, both in Monroe and out in Galena. Similar temperatures out that direction as well as the rest of the state line in the low 80s and upper 70s for most of us. Still sitting at 84 right now though in Rockford, but our dew points are much more comfortable when they had been earlier last week. Down in the 50s for many of us, as opposed to where we are going to see later this week when those dew points will be rising. Our weather watcher Terry out in Genoa also reporting a dew point around 56 degrees, a temperature of 85, winds out of the southeast around 7 miles per hour, and only 39% for the humidity for him. And that is what we are going to be seeing with the lower humidity and those lower dew points that we have, at least here in the short term, despite our southerly direction for our winds. However, when we look off to our west, notice where our dew points are currently located across portions of the plains. That is eventually going to work its way closer to the region. We are not going to see dew points widespread reach the mid-70s, though we likely will see a couple spots getting close to that 70-degree mark. A lot of that moisture out to our west is also producing quite a bit of thunderstorm activity across portions of Nebraska and down into Kansas as well. Couple of severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings out that direction. Not a whole lot of activity here locally, but we did see some radar returns, although this may have been rain that had been evaporating before it reached the ground, given the much lighter nature and very, very dry low and mid levels that we had locally. A couple of very spotty thunderstorms off just to the northwest of Dubuque, though. Might have to keep a closer eye on those as we head later into the evening tonight. A little bit more of the overcast skies starting to develop is what we really have seen for most of the day today. Our SkyTrack camera overlooking Poplar Grove, the airport out there, showing that off pretty well. The increase in cloud cover continues as we head into the evening tonight, with more of the thunderstorm activity developing with a passing wave off to our north and to our northwest. Temperatures will not fall very far, only getting back down into the upper 60s later on tonight. As we head into early tomorrow morning, that wave does pass a bit closer to the region, bringing us a couple of chances for some spotty showers and thunderstorms, mainly off to the north of Highway 20 for many of us through mid-morning. We may have another brief wave during the early part of the afternoon, but I think once we get past that wave in the morning, most of us do remain dry. That's when the warm front lifts through the area, and look what happens to our temperatures as a result. Those are going to be rising into the 90s for many of us as we head later into the afternoon. I mentioned this earlier, but we'll look at our temperatures and heat index values for the week ahead. We're going to be seeing temperatures in the low to mid 90s for more than a few days, dew points close to 70 degrees, leading to our heat index values, or roughly what the temperature feels like, going to be a lot closer to the 100-degree mark. So not quite to where we are going to be seeing heat advisory levels, but at least getting very close to that. 68 degrees is where we head for the overnight tonight. A couple of chances for an isolated storm or two as well. And heading into Father's Day, our temperatures are going to be on the warmer side, still starting out around 75 degrees by 8 a.m. with the isolated showers. Up to 91 though as we head toward the afternoon hours, and only getting warmer as we get beyond Father's Day and going into the early part of the week. 95 on Monday, another chance for an isolated thunderstorm or two just with the heat and humidity, although very isolated in coverage for the next few days. Temperatures, though, will be holding into the 90s for those afternoon highs and in the 70s for most of those overnight lows.
Thanks, Jordan. Scott's in next with sports. He'll show us some youngsters who took advantage of Fred VanVleet's basketball camp today to work on their skills. And racers hit the track in their vintage sports car today at Blackhawks Farms Raceway.
Now sports with Sports Director Scott Lever.
Yesterday launched a big weekend in Rockford for Fred Van Vliet and the Van Vliet Family Foundation. There was the block party downtown and the Bet on Yourself ball. Today, though, it was time to get to work on the basketball courts. Fred's annual camp for local youngsters was held at the UW Health Sports Factory downtown. The camp was maxed out in terms of kids who registered, showing once again the popularity of the camp. Fred was supervising and he had a great team of instructors working with the kids. Those kids range from kindergartners up to 12-year-olds, and they told me they were learning a lot.
How to dribble between the legs more, how to dribble more, and how to shoot.
Did you see Fred Van Vliet?
Yeah.
What do you think of Fred?
I think he a real good basketball player.
Also at the camp was a three-man film crew from the Houston Rockets. That's right, they came all the way from Houston for this. Turns out they're shooting a documentary on Fred.
We're filming a documentary about his trip back home and what he's giving back to the community, seeing his friends, reuniting with his family members, and helping tell the story to the people back home in Houston.
They say their documentary will be ready to view at the end of the summer on the Rockets' YouTube and Instagram accounts. What a gorgeous day this was for racing, and not just any racing, but vintage sports car racing at Blackhawk Farms Raceway. The road course was roaring with action in the annual Blackhawk Vintage Classic. It's always held on Father's Day weekend, and it's been going on for 32 years now. There are 175 race teams competing from 15 states across the country, some from as far away as Oregon, Texas, and Florida. And check out this GT-TR2 ceremonial pace car made in 1952. It's a one-of-a-kind. Now, these are Group 2 Sprigget cars, a huge group of them. Group 1 cars are the oldest of the bunch, and you gotta love those. There will be more racing tomorrow, starting at 8 a.m. and lasting throughout the day. Admission is $10 for adults. A tough break for Cubs lefty and former Rockford Rivet Jordan Wicks. He's been put on the 15-day injured list with a strained oblique. It's the second time this season he's gone on the IL.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating, especially just coming back from the IL and, feeling like I was in an outstanding spot physically. Have something like this happen, it's definitely frustrating, but, there's not a whole lot we can do about it right now. We're going to get to work and, hopefully come back as soon as we can.
No frustrations, though, for Shota Imanaga today at Wrigley Field. He had his good stuff against the Cardinals. He allowed one base runner in 7 innings. He struck out 6, raised his record to 3-0 at the confines, and he was pumped. So was Ian Happ after this swing in the bottom of the 7th inning. He knocked out his 7th home run with 2 men on base, and the Cubs defeated the Cardinals for the first time this season, 5-1. The White Sox will play tonight in Arizona. The Brewers defeated the Reds 3-1. Joey Ortiz hit a 3-run homer. At the U.S. Open, Bryson DeChambeau leads at 7 under par through 13 holes today. Rory McIlroy is next at 5 under through 15. Then comes Matthew Pavin at 4 under and Hideki Matsuyama and Patrick Cantley at 3 under. The Florida Panthers can get their hands on the Stanley Cup tonight with another win in Edmonton. Catch it here on WTVO starting at 7 o'clock. That's sports. We'll be right back.
First Warning Interactive Radar from Rockford Glass & More showing a few spotty showers, but things remaining fairly dry here into the evening as we still have a lot of dry air down near the surface, but we are going to be seeing temperatures on the rise, hitting 91 by Father's Day, getting even warmer than that as we head into Monday, and then still in the 90s the rest of the week.
Thanks, Jordan, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you at 10.